Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the Flat Earth Debate community, go to nathanoakley.com and join the forum. But if you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. If you'd like to join the live debate, then click the link to Flat Earth Debate channel in the info box below the video and join the discussions there, and you can watch the live show. Click the link when the show is live. Now, the show will be going live in a few moments. I do have a panel full of guests, but I'm going to do a few shout outs and a few bit of shilling for myself before I do actually say a hello to them. So a massive thank you to all the people who've supported me on Patreon. So regular viewers will know that Ranty has talked me into having Patreon, which I was initially dead against. Now it's making money. I'm delighted. So obviously it's taken a bit of pressure off me because it has meant that I've got a bit of an income. So to all of you who've joined on Patreon, I am eternally grateful for you doing so. Also, check out, as I said in the intro, nathanoakley.com, where you can find archive footage, videos, interviews, science versus scientism, the debates themselves, and as I say, the forum. So if you want to join the Flat Earth Debate community, you can find, for the time being at least, the housekeeping questions which are on there. You can participate in the community and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. So I'm going to say a hello to my guests. I'll take myself off mute. I've started the pre-show, guys, so this is now recording. I just wanted to make you aware of that. So warm welcome to Earth Flattener, Mark Doxey, Musicians for Truth, and Sleeping Warrior. Good to have you all.
Hello, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Here we are.
Hello, hello.
Hello. We aren't live though, so we've got about, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes before the actual show goes live, but I'm just going to be fiddling in the background, setting up the live show, and then you'll know because I'll do an intro.
I'll tell you what to do. Just ask me when we go live what the current position is on the education point, and I'll make the point live because it's worth updating people.
Yes. And
Yeah,
it
no,
is
I
kind of a
definitely will.
topic that's been going around lately. So
Yeah, happy to do so.
I think the kids are being indoctrinated, including the adults that were kids like 20 years ago, of which I am one.
maybe I'd like to, maybe we could also talk about it. I don't know. How do you guys feel about the 5G towers going up in schools? You know,
I don't know
all
enough
over
about
the
it.
place?
Okay, so
Apparently
vaccines.
there's,
Going back to vaccines.
Um,
I'm hoping you don't allow too much dead air while I do the bits in the background.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
I'm in a bad position with my headset, but I really wanted to talk about it. Vaccines. Last year, I talked to my wife about vaccines, and we agreed that we would get the kids the flu shot, but not because I wanted to, only because she wanted to. But I didn't agree with getting the shots. But then as I looked further into it and realized that the flu shot is just total BS, the odds of it doing anything for you are nonsense, and it could potentially damage our kids. I took both of our kids to the doctor for their wellness check for school, and I refused the vaccines. And so I brought the summary home, and my wife saw that I refused the vaccines, and so we got into an argument about it, and she said, "You promised that you were never going to let your YouTube videos get into our lives with our kids." And so that's kind of where I am now with it, So it's difficult. It keeps getting more difficult, but I'm trying to fight it whatever way I can.
You want something that might make life easier? Just ask the doctors to give you the documentation that shows that whatever vaccine or whatever supplement that they want to push into your kids' veins is 100% safe. And they won't provide that. That will not exist. There is no such thing. And as soon as they say, well, there is this risk, oh, I'd rather not take that risk. Thank you very much. End of conversation.
Yeah, but that's kind of the way I do it. But my wife, she doesn't care about that. She believes the mainstream. And if the news says get your flu shot, then she's going to do it. If the Walgreens sign says get your flu shot for 20% off your entire order, she's going to feel like, okay, that's mainstream. That's what people do now, you know? And so it's been very difficult.
I think flu shots give you flu, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah, they
used
make
to get
people
them
ill.
all the time.
Absolutely. I
And
remember
when I-
sorry
yeah.
to pipe up when I said I wouldn't. It's just sparked my interest. Good conversation, typical in it. I'm trying to get you to talk amongst yourself so I can do other things, but the conversation's good, so I want to join into it. But I was in the swimming baths about 6 months ago, and it was like a communal changing rooms back then. It's changed now, but nevertheless, I won't get into that. And in the changing rooms, there was this guy chatting away how he'd had a flu jab and it had almost killed him. He'd ended up in hospital with all sorts of problems, and it was a story that I was like, oh right, so at the end of this, he's going to say, yeah, I'm never having a flu jab again. But that wasn't what he said. Not at all. At the end of this discussion between three grown adults talking about how this flu jab had nearly killed him, he was like, yeah, the doctors told me I've got to go and get another one, this blah, 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 blah. I was like, I couldn't quite believe my ears. Like, so you know it's made you ill. You know it's nearly killed you, but that's not going to stop you getting another one. You're bonkers.
Yeah, I heard that same story where somebody got the flu shot. I don't know if I knew them in person or Hangouts, but they got a shot and it messed up their arm for a year. And then a year later, they got another shot and it messed up their arm again for a year.
Man, I have a close friend who has an autistic boy, and he swears that, you know, the boy was totally, completely normal, young infant. Before the shot, after the shot, totally different. He's a close friend of mine.
Yeah.
You know.
I've actually argued against that because I feel the body is strong once it's out, you know, unless it was a premature baby or something. But my son has autism too. And what I think did it was my wife getting all her shots, including the flu shot before he was born. So while she was pregnant, I think that's when he ended up with autism. Of course, I'll never know. We'll never know. And they're seeing autism as just an alternative kind of lifestyle, and they're not even going to investigate why it's happening, you know. But that's what I think is happening. And so the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I realized that I've said a lot of stuff on the Flat Earth debates regarding my ideas of Earth and all this stuff. And I want to actually save the recordings for my kids. So when I'm long gone, they can listen to it and either say, okay, he was crazy or he was right. You know, so it's interesting that I have this platform to do that on.
That's assuming that they know where to look to find it.
I'm gonna have to download it. They're not gonna, you know.
Yeah, they'll be downloading
it.
They'll be downloading it from Mars, going, Jesus, they were crazy. Right?
No, that's not what's gonna happen at all. Because this is all there is. I know.
Yeah, they'll be flying around with crazy spacesuits going, well, if they'd have just had the advanced technology to actually get to space, they'd have known it was possible to violate the second law of thermodynamics.
Yeah, so it's hard to be in this position because I don't want to, you know, be in disagreement with my wife, and she already knows that I'm a flat earther and that I have all these crazy thoughts. So now just adding the vaccine on top of it, she wouldn't care what paperwork I bring home. And I've talked to her about it before, about vaccinations and how the strain that they come up with for the next year is just a theoretical strain. So you probably will never get that strain. So the flu shot will do nothing for you, you know? She just doesn't.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. If you'd like to join the Flat Earth Debate community, go to nathanoakley.com and join the Flat Earth Debate forum. Most importantly, if you'd like to join this live discussion right now, simply mute the page you're currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by, let's get it right, Flatten Earth, Mark Doxey, Musicians for Truth, and Sleeping Warrior. Good to have you all.
Woohoo!
Hi,
Morning,
folks.
friends.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
To have you. Good to have you. So, any signs of curvature, gentlemen?
Definitely no signs of curvature.
Not on the west coast of Canada.
No? What about axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Got to prove there's an axis.
Joke.
No? No proof we're spinning?
Nope, none.
Right, evidence of gas pressure without a container.
No.
Well, Jazz was supposed to provide us with some earlier, but, well, he didn't quite make it to the debate, to the hangout.
Should really update the audience in that regard. So, for any who are unaware, the pre-show ended up becoming a quasi-debate that never happened because Jazzaconda, during a re-up of an old debate from about 12 months ago, was baiting Musicians for Truth. Jason. Say hi, Jason.
Hello. Good to see you all.
And
I hear you all.
Jazz isn't a chat troll. He's been on the show, he can debate, and he's full of bravado and beans, probably because the show he was listening to he was on. Nevertheless, he was calling out and saying, come on, I'll debate you on whatever subject. I think it was gas pressure without a container. I think you're right, Jason.
Yep.
So at the drop of a hat, with him saying, where's the link, where's the link, where's the link? I said, no worries, I can do it in 5 minutes. Got the show up and running, got it live. Jason did exactly as requested, responded to my email, jumped on the show. Jazz didn't, gave out a fake email address, which I sent out and got returned. And then he didn't come. And then was like, ah ha ha, I'm trolling you. It's like, well, okay, so you're now demoted to just a track troll. Fine, no worries, if that's what you want to be. But you were a real boy before, now you're just Pinocchio. Let's move on.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate. And, you can call them out. And if you stick to practical applied science, I think we're fine. We're clear. We have a valid argument, and this needs to be brought way more to the forefront. Way more flat earth debate shows going, like, let's bring it. They have nothing. It's been years. I'm still waiting for something. Please. Something that is not an unfalsifiable hypothesis would be wonderful.
Check it out. That's Fighting Talk. So the link is in the info box. Got some spirited debaters ready to go. If you want to join the panel, feel free. Click the link in the info box. Be sure to mute the page you're currently watching. So any scientific evidence of gravity. Anybody at all?
What's your guys' standing on the LIGO thing? I know, big lie, and it goes. But what is your? I've never heard actually your guys' opinion on the LIGO.
Well, it's total nonsense, isn't it? You could have a vibration from something that was in the near distance.
Did you know? Did you know, Nathan, that they did a fake signal that they sent out to the people reading the LIGO instruments and didn't tell them? So they thought they had received. Did you hear that story before? Have you guys heard that?
This is one of Jaron's arguments.
Apparently,
so if he would always argue it that if somebody's at a control center and they're monitoring how much fuel comes into a particular system on a rocket, for the sake of argument, if the screen says there's the right amount of fuel at the moment. The person looks at the screen and goes, there's the right amount of fuel. That doesn't mean there is any fuel. It's just something on a screen, right?
Yeah. Well, the story goes that they wanted to test the LIGO system out. So without telling the people who were reading the instrumentation, they sent a signal out. And they thought they had received a signal of a gravitational wave, right? And they were convinced that they had done it, the scientists on the floor, right? And then they had to admit to them, no, it was fake. It was we created that signal you picked up. So how do you take that seriously? How do you take the LIGO experiment seriously when
well, the simple answer is you don't take it
exists.
seriously. I'll just say a quick hello to our new guest. Hey, Paul.
Hey, sorry about that. I was trying to get to mute. I'm here.
That's good. It's good. Good to have you. Thank you for joining. So, should we move on? Any evidence of the distance to the sun? Anybody?
I think a sextant proves it's close. Perhaps.
Maybe. You want to make that claim?
I would kind of make that claim based on the fact that it was used for so long by sailors to navigate that I think it was probably accurate. But yeah, I might be taking a jump.
It's an appeal to sailors' fallacy.
Perhaps. Yeah, maybe.
No, nobody.
I know it could go either way.
What about an actual number though? Would you give us a distance based on sextants?
3,490 miles. I think miles, right?
Man,
are they based on miles?
You're the first person to actually give us an answer in bloody ages.
Miles?
I almost don't know how to react. Is it possible to actually triangulate the sun, would you say?
Is it physical? Yeah, I don't know. What if it's just a point where light is emitted from? I can't even see. I know that it's not a giant burning ball of gas. And anybody that wants to argue that is arguing like science that we learned 120 years ago. That a giant burning ball of exploding gas could never emit a constant spectrum of light. Impossible. And so it's not a burning ball of hydrogen gas, right?
But in terms of triangulation, you know, you have to be in two places at once to physically do it, and then it's only an apparent position from your location.
Right.
Fair enough. Nobody else? Anybody else? Any more for any more? Distance to the sun?
It's not a tangible object. Can't tell it's physical.
No, can't tell.
Could be any size, could be any distance.
Arwin's normally on the panel and we get there is no distance to the sun. But in this instance, we've been given a distance by a flat earther and there's no globe head to challenge it. No, I'm not going to leave it. I'm just going to leave it hanging out there.
I certainly think it's a converter of some type, and I definitely think that it's within our atmospheric, plane, whatever you want to call it.
Just say it. Just say
chamber.
It. Say dome.
Our
Go on.
geothermal
Say
pocket.
it. Say it's in our dome. Go on.
I prefer geothermal pocket because I kind of come from the vast ice plane theory, and that we each live in geothermal pockets, and there could be many more perhaps, right, across the ice plane of a sun and moon that have been placed over an ice field, melts the ice, creates a pocket for life to exist in. That's the way. That's as far as I'm willing to go with guessing what's going on out there.
At least you put it in at the end. Yeah, just guessing. Fair enough. At least you disclaimed it. It's a nice story.
Well, if someone's going to ask me, what do you think? Where do you think you are? That's where I think I am. Right. I don't think I'm on a corkscrewing salty space testicle. Right.
I'll grant you, if push came to shove, and those were the only two choices, I'd pick yours.
Oh, thanks. That's cool.
So where
Yeah,
were
no,
we?
I don't know. I'm not convinced there's a dome yet, you guys. Honestly, I'm convinced there's a ceiling, but is it dome shaped and it comes down and encloses us in this geothermal pocket? Not so convinced on that yet. Convinced that there's a electromagnetic vortices that's spinning around us with a hole in the center of it. I'm convinced of that now. And that's what's spinning the sun and moon because they're locked in these electromagnetic grids, these layers, and they just rotate around and around. What is causing the vortices to spin? I'm not exactly sure. What is the sun and moon? I don't know.
Well, talking
The
of
only thing we
spinning
can say is
vortices.
that-
Hey, Chocolate, first of all.
Good morning, fellas.
Good
Hey,
morning.
Chocolate, what up, saying?
What's up, musicians? Good to see you on here, brother.
Cheers, man. Good to be.
Chocolate, what time is it for you locally?
Right now it's 9:10 a.m.
Cool. So have you just woke up or have you been up a while?
Been at work since 6 a.m.
Cool, man.
Oh, you're a night shifter. You're a night shifter like me.
Yeah, well, no, I mean 6 a.m. I start. So
Oh, you started at 6 a.m. Okay.
yes, sir. It's 9 o'clock now. So
Hey,
I'm
new
the
guest.
East Coast.
Hold on one second, Chocolate. Hey, HLSS Co. How you doing?
Hi.
Good to have you.
Hi,
A couple
this is
more
actually
housekeeping questions. I'll just
Taylor.
rattle through them. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, as we were on the subject of vortices and magnetism?
No. Apparently Paul Voigt's got somebody, won't let us have it because he says we're too stupid.
In that case, any evidence of the elusive R value, Earth radius?
Negative.
Nope.
Somebody, I think it was Tim, criticised us saying that if you know the circumference, you can calculate R, which is true, but it's only in two dimensions. The R value that we're referring to, of course, is the three-dimensional one that gives it a vertical aspect. So let's not misrepresent our position. Everybody knows what we mean. You can't assume R unless you can prove that it's three-dimensional. A circular radius of a pizza is supporting a flat Earth. It is not supporting a sphere.
Not a circular radius of the pizza, it's the circumference that the sun travels, and the presupposition is that it's travelling or traversing the outside edge of a sphere. So they observe the sun, which is where? Is it to the side of us if we move over there somewhere? No, it's above us. Always is, always will be. But if you formulate a logical fallacy that dictates you start observing this light in the sky from the outside edge, which they call the equator, and then say that that circumference gives you the radius of that sphere that you put yourself on to observe it going around the outside edge of that sphere, it's just a logical fallacy. It's a presupposition. R, the sphericity of said R, is an assumption. The circumference is derived from the path of the sun. This doesn't give you a sphere. Unless you demand, at the beginning of your example, if we're on a sphere, like they do in every single example.
Geez, if the father of the Mick West of the modern R value assumption admits himself that, you know, it's an assumption in his own equation, you could almost remove this from the house cleaning. Because I mean, it's funny, right?
What are you talking about? Why would you want to remove it?
No, I'm saying you could, because you literally had the gentleman who created the modern Earth curvature calculator admit that it's an assumption. Really, that's how bigger of a concession can you get? You really could almost remove it, because, right? I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying you could, right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Once you're saying it's been killed, and I'd agree. But all that really means is that you'll never get a presupposition of an R value past us. That gets killed when people come in, because regardless of it being killed by us, and yeah, the expose of the presupposition of an R value in the mathematics has a much wider reaching implication, which is to say that most, if not all, examples that claim to be globe proof start with the presupposition that you are on a sphere. That is to say that at some stage, whether or not it's verbally implied or directly using the mathematics, you must assume R. And I'll give you examples. So Tim Osman keeps presenting his pictures of obstruction. He's holding on to them very dearly. Well, he has to extrapolate obstruction into Earth curve. How? By way of R. So what he does, because I've rammed R up his ass, is used it by proxy. This person who makes this calculator has a model, and they say it's a sphere. Well, no, you're just assuming R by proxy. It doesn't matter how you try and run away from the assumption of an R value. It's there, hanging out for all to see.
Poor Tim. I thought he was done with Flat Earth. He said that just recently. I'm done with Flat Earth. No, Flat Earth is done with you. Okay.
It's funny because he was whining at me the other day because I won't speak to him because I think he's a waste of time. I think he's caused more disruption than he ever will admit. And because of that, I just don't think that he's worth speaking to. I know certain people might like him and whatever, but I think he's a moron. And he's moaning at me for why would I not give him time of the day? And the answer is because of the damage that you've caused over in the years that you've been here being a professional troll. Why would I give somebody that kind of interest or like attention? You don't offer anything for me, and that's the answer.
Of course, when I end up in a room, with him, I'm usually just belligerent to him, and because I see no other way. There's no other point. He's just going to play games. And that's what he does. He plays games. I realized this years ago when he doxed Patricia. I was like, you horrible, wretched little human being. How dare you?
That's where I started
do that to a lady.
That's what started me on him. That was my introduction to Tim Osman. So when I saw that happen from her live chat, I was like, I'm going to find out who you are. And I am going to become your worst nightmare.
Yeah, same. That's how I felt. So I just treat him like garbage when I see him. Because he is. He acts like garbage. He's not a real man. He acts with no honor.
He's got very girly ankles as well, though. Have you noticed his ankles?
Girly ankles, little ginger.
But he gets to be humiliated because of his anonymity that he hides behind. It means that I've managed to... Hey, Arwin.
Hello.
I've managed to hang him.
Wait,
hang him
he really
on
did
camera.
that? He doxed Patricia? Like, he really did that?
Yeah, this is like 3.5 years ago.
I talked about him for a moment as well.
He did it. Basically, the score was Patricia didn't watch her live chat, so she'd have the Hangout page up and she'd do her show, but she didn't monitor the live chat. So this is back in the day when you'd run Google Hangouts from G Plus itself. From most people won't even have the vaguest clue what I'm talking about, but from Hangouts on air, you get the Hangouts page, and that was where you used to run the Hangouts from. So she'd do it and she'd have a Q&A that ran alongside it. But when she started to do it from within inside YouTube, she didn't monitor the chat. She just had the Hangout page. So her chat was a bit like this chat. No moderation. You could say what you like. It was wicked, right? But people like Tim Osman went in there and doxed her, revealed their address to the live chat over and over again without any challenge because there was no moderators. You know, this was all unfamiliar territory to her at the time. But it made me furious, like livid. And like I say, I, off the back of that, pointed out that, you know, there's disadvantages to being an anonymous troll. One is that you've got no rights. You know, so I reduced Tim to a blithering, crying mess in a pool, saying, I'm going to sue you. You're, you know, telling people to come and tell me off for what he was going to do and threatening to sue me, which I laughed in his face over. It was funny as hell. I've still got the recording on my hard drive. He removed it, of course. It was very, very funny. A cartoon threatening to sue a real man. Me, Nathan Oakley. Tim Osman, a cartoon. And you could do what you like to a cartoon. So subsequently, I can rape him with an R value. I can hang him by his neck by a vacuum hose. I can do whatever I like to this cartoon with total impunity. I don't know. Is that the right word? Immunity. That's the right word. Total immunity. He can do not a thing. And I can get away with what I like. I've also pointed out recently that cartoons don't own video footage. So, should you want Tim's footage, steal it, have it, thieve it, because he can't do anything about it. He's not a real person. Unless, of course, he is willing to actually do what he threatened when he's threatened to take me to court. That is, give up his name and address and dox himself. Yeah, you can do that if you choose. Become a real man.
When I confronted him live about this a while back, all he could, his response is, well, I apologized for that. You know, I totally apologize for that. And, you know, this is the same story I've heard from good people all the time that have dealt with him, is that, they give him a second chance and he burns them. He gives them another chance and it's the same thing over and over again. This man has no honor and shouldn't be given any time of day. And we're probably just wasting our time actually probably talking about him. So, wipe the floor of house cleaning with his face and move on, I guess. Right?
Yeah, but it's fun to torture at the moment because it still hasn't quite sunk in. It's only half sunk in, the problem he has with R. Basically, while he was pinned down squealing, he managed to get away. He ran away, cut loose. I think Arwin interrupted.
Yeah, would people even accept the globe? I mean, that the globe is a lie. I think some people will still, even when all proof is presented, even if it's on the 6 o'clock news.
I honestly think Gem Panda would commit suicide rather than face up to the reality. I don't think he could face it.
Hey, Zinda.
Hey, everyone.
Don't take my Apollo moon missions away from me.
I don't think he's the only one either.
He's been here a long time.
I think Paper Explanator would struggle. Flat Earth Math would struggle. I think there's a few of them that would struggle, all because a lot of them work it, don't they? It's their job.
Some of them have been so terrible they should be forced to commit seppuku. I say, do it.
No, but I think what Anthony's trying to say is the psychological trauma, if it were to be, as you put it, on the 6 o'clock news, would be more than they could actually cope with.
To be honest, and if you flip it the other way around, if they could prove that it were a sphere, I'd be relieved. Wouldn't have to be like focusing on this kind of nonsense as it would be then. And because the reality is, it looks flat at times, and there are times that I've questioned it with Nathan, and I've thought, it does look a little bit bendy today, Nathan. And he's like, nah. And I'm like, it does. You want to see what I'm looking at? It does look a little bit bendy. But when you see the bigger picture and you realize that the default value is that it's flat, it sometimes looks spherical but doesn't make it spherical, then all of a sudden it starts to make a lot of sense.
And Anthony, how much of it is kind of conditioned reflexes, programming, or something in our head that's almost superimposing a curve into our view, right? Yeah. I kind of wonder sometimes how much of that is responsible for people. I saw curvature from the plane. No, your brain was probably telling you that you saw curvature or something. You want to see it so bad because your belief system tells you that it's there. Ugh, wow, it's a mess.
Yeah.
I think it's that when you're just a normal person, you look out of a plane window and you feel like you should see the curve because you think you're so high, you think you should see it. And then maybe that messes with your mind and you might see it a little bit.
That's what I mean. Exactly.
But then, because I don't remember if before I became a flat earther, if I've actually seen the curve. I thought maybe I did. I don't know. But now, like, I'm a flat earther, I get in the plane, I don't see any curve at all. Not even a hint.
That's worth a bit of clarity, Chocolate, isn't it? Because Anthony's saying sometimes it looks a bit bendy. Well, no, you have the typical baller problem, which is that they conflate obstruction with curvature. Now, there might have been a couple of instances with things like Ranty's turbines, where they are following the rules of perspective in terms of how they present themselves in a linear fashion decreasing towards the horizon. But that linear decrease will be called curvature by globeheads. Things getting smaller into the distance is ignored in the mathematics. It's only recently that we've really got thanks to people like Red Pill Philosophy and... If
you're to believe everything that we're told about the heliocentric model,
hold on.
You have to believe dozens.
Hold on. Why did you just mute me, HLSS? What's that all about?
Oh, I thought you stopped talking.
No, HLSS just muted
sorry.
me.
Hey, I'm new to this, so I don't really know exactly how it works. I was just...
Don't mute me.
I apologize.
No worries.
You do realise that meeting somebody is like an active act. You have to physically do it. It's not something you can really do accidentally.
Yeah, I was looking at the controls.
I could see how it could happen. If you're new to this, I could see how it could just happen.
I apologize.
No, you're a terrorist sympathizer.
There was nothing malicious or contentious on the table at the time.
I remember
I suspected it was an accident.
All right, go ahead.
I suspected it was an accident because there was nothing malicious going on. There's not like a heated debate's going on.
Well, now that like I've been helping my daughters with stuff, I haven't been able to talk, but I did have some things. First of all, I'm a flat earther at this point, but can you hold on a sec? I've thought of some things that contradict the heliocentric model. The thing with the oblate spheroid to me doesn't make sense, because if you put any place on the surface of that oblate spheroid, the center of gravity is not going to be in the center. And especially like deGrasse Tyson talks about being a pear shape, that's going to throw off the center of gravity even more, you know, because any point of the surface of not a perfect sphere is not going to go to the center of gravity. So I just thought that was an interesting thing.
It would also throw off the spin. It would wobble more than it would just spin evenly.
Well, yeah, we got to be careful. A lot of memes have been made of like with pears painted like Earth and stuff, and that's not, you know, it's not an accurate representation of the lie that they're actually trying to spread, which is, you know, it's slightly bulgy on the southern equator, right? It's like, I don't think it's literally a pear shaped. It's slightly bigger, right? So
yeah,
I don't know, just to
what's
be
the point of
clarified
even
there.
saying it then if it's so slight that you can't notice it? What's you know, it's still going to be, to me, it's still going to be noticeable at ground level, because we're so small. So even if it's a small change in proportion to us, it's going to be big. So
regarding that, I really like to use plumb bobs as my example for why I think we're on a flat plane. I think plumb bobs used in the construction of really wide buildings show that we are on a flat plane surface. A plumb bob gives you the direct vertical line, right, down from the top to bottom. Now, if we're on a ball, some of these big buildings, some of them 30 blocks long in the world, there's huge buildings. They would be larger at the top. I would assume that they would be larger at the top than the bottom due to a spinning ball Earth and a plumb bob being used. Because we're on a flat plane, plumb bobs work perfectly, and we're given perfectly straight walls up and down.
If we were on a curved surface that was spinning, you should be able to put a plumb bob, let it settle, and so it's not moving, and it should never settle flat or perpendicular because of the centrifugal force. It should move all by itself and start to conform to the rotation of the Earth, but it won't ever do it.
Well, wouldn't you have to move the string that it was on?
No, it would never sit. It would never sit perpendicular because of the tangential speed of the Earth itself.
So it would always be off.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe it would always be off.
Yeah, I've never thought. That's awesome.
So that basically the idea that I had and like the concept in my mind, like it shows me that gravity in itself is kind of a theoretical construct that kind of requires a perfect sphere.
It's a mathematical concept.
Yeah, it's a mathematical thing. It's just invented, so it's just theoretical physics. But
correct.
Buildings aren't wider at the top, and they don't lean away from us in the distance. So they're pretty good indication we're on a plane of existence, I think.
I'd agree.
They don't lean away from us, but for some reason we're told by the ballers that why would we expect to see the lean? Why would we expect to see tilt? But we're seeing half the building over the curvature, guys. Like, again, get your story straight. Because you guys are starting to sound ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel like it's ridiculous because we're not even dealing with close values here. It's not like we're arguing over a degree here and a degree there. There's like a massive glaring problem here, right? And they want to argue sometimes about little tiny semantics and this degree and your angular resolution of this and that, and ignoring perspective usually, right? So it's quite funny. I find it all funny that it's not even close to like, we're dealing with a minor issue here of a small, actually it's just 8.5, inches per mile squared. we were off. You know, it's not even like there's 9 or 10 or 7 or 6 or any equation that seems to work, right? That's what's so funny about this to me.
And the funny thing to me is, further on that point, is the superlumin refraction. It's like, it seems like it would have to, as you know, you get closer distances, it's bending up less, but as you get further away, the mountains and everything's bending up even more to present itself as flat, because everything leads up to that distance. So you're seeing, you know, hundreds of miles as if it's flat. So to me, for their concept of superlumin refraction, it would have to be like, things would have to be broken up. You'd see like real thing, because it wouldn't be a real image what you're seeing in their models, because you're seeing an illusion to them. Like
HL, I saw an amazing test. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you can go ahead.
I saw an amazing test, and Nathan, and you guys probably remember this test, and I really feel like it was remarkable, and it proves definitely we're on a plane, I think. And that was when this nice couple, I'm sorry if you guys can remind me in chat, or you guys can remind me here, the couple's name and the channel name, but they had climbed, they lived in Oregon area, maybe, I think somewhere in the States, and they found 3 mountains of the same altitude that you would be able to view from one mountain, right, top. So what they did is they calculated, right, how much of the mountaintops should disappear over the distance, right? And I mean, it was a vast distance, right? Like, you know, like 20 miles to the next mountain, and, you know, 40 or 60 miles to the, like, it was quite a long distance. So when they got to the top of the first mountain, they were quite easily able to line up all the mountaintops. Like they got out their, you know, GPS and blah, 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 and showed you what they were doing and where they were. And here's the mountains we're looking at. And they all lined up perfectly, all the mountaintops, and showing no drop or curvature whatsoever in the last mountain. And so I thought that was a brilliant, I'm sorry, I'll try and find a link for it. Do you remember that, Nathan or Anthony?
I don't remember that one.
It was a really good test, I thought. It was one of the better ones, I thought. How could that possibly, even under refraction, how could you line up 3 mountaintops over a vast distance? It was I'm sorry, I can't give you the exact numbers, but it was incredible. I'll try and find a link for it.
Yeah, the video is called Mountain of Evidence.
Oh, yes. Yes, now you know the title. I do know exactly which one you mean. A Mountain of Evidence. Yes, the guy went to a massive extent, put all of the documentation down, really thorough, about an hour-long video. Yeah. Excellent, excellent. Yes, A Mountain of Evidence.
Yeah, he did that experiment. I don't live too far from where this happened. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, and he did it over towards Asheville. Yeah, and he did it over towards Asheville, North Carolina, which is just about an hour and a half from where I live. So.
Okay.
This is kind of on the same topic, but I asked this question yesterday, and I've been thinking about it. Remember the Soundly video asked, how could you account for that? Is there anything you can do to account for that? And I've been thinking about a possible way to account for it. And, you know, we all know the Rob Skiba video where he shows how the sun can set over a flat surface using the magnifying lens. I wonder if you got multiple, you got multiple magnifying lenses, and you put, you know, whatever you want to use, whether just something that's straight up and down, and you just put magnifying sheets in between each one of those, like whatever you use, a pylon or whatever you use, if that could, because it, you know, obviously if the atmosphere is magnifying or refracting the image, which could draw that curve, make it curve down. I wonder if those magnifying sheets could do the same thing. Just a thought experiment. Yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Somebody put it on screen the other day. I'm sure somebody had it up as a quick rebuttal.
What? The mountain of evidence. I've just put. Sorry, folks. Sorry, that shouldn't have happened.
Mark Doxey.
I just put it on YouTube there, searching for the mountain of evidence, and the very top one is Sparkane's rebuttal of it. And you cannot actually find the original one. It's not up. It's not there anymore.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So when I'm in the re-ups of these shows, I'm constantly badgering the chat to share the show. And that's why, because ultimately speaking, these videos don't get found unless people share them. So smash the share button if you're watching this on the re-up. I don't care if you don't share the live show.
Mr. Thrive and Survive's got one up reviewing it, but that's way lower in the list. It's desperate. Oh, there we go. Is it a guy called John McIntyre? Is it? Oh, no, Jesse Kowalski.
McIntyre name rings a bell. Yes.
It's somebody evaluating the video. No, that's a rebuttal of it.
Yeah, what these guys do is they claim that the mountain is still there, but like they've stretched its height to make it fit. What they've done is failed to account for the angular size. And when they put the angular size back to the way it should be if it was in front of your face, then that gives them the depth that they need. But we all know that objects get smaller as a function of distance. So you can't have this extra height that they're claiming is missing. It isn't missing. You're just making shit up because you need to make your mountain bigger, and that's the effect of perspective.
Anybody see Taboo Conspiracies video where he puts a bunch of compression examples together in a compilation? Anybody see
Make
that?
sure you go and do you know what? Go on, Chocolate.
No, I was just gonna say it's a great video, just for the ballers that want to say, "Oh, compression is not a real thing; it's something that flat earthers made up." Well, that's real cute because there's plenty of video of it. So, yeah, Taboo Conspiracy put a nice little compilation together, so everybody should check that out.
Cool, man.
Got a link?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, go and subscribe to Taboo Conspiracy because he finds loads of new material from everywhere. I don't know he must have spotters out doing his work for him because there's no way one man that runs a couple of his own businesses is able to spend as much time on YouTube looking out for new material as this guy does. A massive shout out to Taboo Conspiracy.
So we have no defenders of the globe.
Again?
I said, do we have no defenders of the globe?
Can't come on the show, can they? They're all claiming that they're boycotting Nathan because of the mute button, but we know that they can't come on, and that's why we're getting newbies from the baller side.
I'm kind of global, but I'm kind of busy writing down the challenge I made yesterday. So, any questions? Sorry.
You're not a glober.
I'm kind of global. I believe the Earth is round. I think that
round or spherical.
Like spherical.
No, you said yesterday that you're ready to denounce the globe completely.
I didn't.
Did.
What did I say? In your opinion?
He said if I was able to get this experiment done, I would be ready to denounce the globe completely.
Yes.
Or words to that effect.
But I failed to get the experiment done, so that's why I made a challenge. Yeah. So I don't think that this experiment will succeed, but there's always yeah.
Thing is, I got Mackle Lighthouse right, and that's got like more than 40% of it missing. Now I get that you don't think that the Earth's flat, but if the Earth is actually flat, then there is your proof.
Yes, but that's kind of a if proof, right? A if evidence, but I won't accept it as.
Oh right, so when it comes to 76R, that if Earth is a sphere with a radius of a given value, and then light bends to all hell and back, how is that any different? It's the exact same principle.
I mean, I know the Earth is a sphere. Maybe it isn't exactly the size as they told us. I don't know. I can't prove it for myself, but I know it is a sphere. But in terms of the lighthouse you just mentioned, you have to prove to me that the water actually is flat and not just level. And you have to, I don't know, you have to shine a laser. I don't know, you have to at night you have to prove it by
What about the
looking
mirror
at
reflections? The mirror reflection tests, are those not? I mean, I've done lots of tests over bodies of water to show that it's flat, man. The guy who took his laser with a skidoo a few winters ago, drove all the way across the lake. What was that, 7 or 8 miles? Pointed the laser directly across the lake. Like, I mean, how much evidence? Like, Anthony, can you get on the 6 o'clock news and tell these guys that the Earth is flat? Because that's the only freaking way they're really gonna see it, man.
You know,
Are they?
there were people who just made the same test with the laser, and they kind of showed evidence that the Earth is spherical. So that's an argument from two sides, right? There is a video.
Sorry, who showed the Earth is spherical? NASA?
No.
Do you have anybody who's shown it without unfalsifiable claims or hypothesis? Anything that's verifiable at all from any angle? Like, as far as I can tell, every single claim is an unfalsifiable hypothesis. And that is a conflict of interest, wouldn't you say? That's a little bit of a problem.
You know,
mathematics does not prove reality.
Well, if you take the data and apply it to mathematics, you can create a model which represents reality. It isn't reality.
But you do the same thing. You guys do the same thing. You always assume the R value. You start with a false premise. If you build off a false premise, right? Just like if I build off a fairy tale, Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, in the end, it's still a fairy tale, man. That's why I just can't, like, science has skipped the why. You didn't answer the whys. You came up with a stupid value or a gravity theory to explain away, dark matter, all these things, ridiculous, unfalsifiable hypotheses. Not one claim can be proven, and it's disgusting. From a scientific point of view, it's dogma.
Dark matter has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. If the sun,
I was just giving you an example of how everything is an unfalsifiable hypothesis. Every single claim that will come out of your face today, or any other glober that joins this panel, unfalsifiable. Every single thing they've presented. And no offense to you personally, sir, but that's the way it is.
So the reason why I made the challenge is because that would disprove my understanding of perspective. And my understanding of perspective is, as long as your line of sight towards an object is free, only due to perspective, not due to atmosphere and everything else. As long as your line of sight to the object is free, you should be able to see it.
What?
As long
angular resolution.
Can you please let me finish?
Live on the moon. We have an atmosphere, so
can you please let me finish my fucking sentence? Thank you very much. You should be able to see it as long as its angular size doesn't get too small, right? So if you have if you look at something with your eyes, then your line of sight is free. You see it, and it gets far in the distance, and then it disappears, right? So that's my understanding. I feel like you're just
trying to hold on to the ball, man, and that you're just trying to make it like a super ball theory.
On the contrary,
like
sorry to interrupt, Jason. Sorry to interrupt. That's quite the contrary. So, no, this is nothing to do with the globe. So, what Zinder's detailing is entirely excluded from the globe mathematics. So, an object reducing in angular size till it disappears, that doesn't happen in the globe mathematics. They can see forever. That's why we have the nonsense arguments. Well, if the Earth was flat, you'd be able to see New York from Portugal. Well, no, because you can't see forever. Perspective is real. But the fact that they accuse us of that demonstrates the fact that they do not take perspective into their worldview. What Zinder's doing is making an investigation that's outside of the current rhetoric. Now, what confuses me here is that your inquiry line is a flat earth inquiry line because it's completely outside of the rhetoric of globe.
Yeah, I want to see it from a neutral perspective and to find out if the Earth is flat or spherical. I think it is spherical right now, but
Did you not just hear what I said, though, Zinder?
Yeah.
So this inquiry is devoid of anything globy. So unless you can show me where you're going to modify the perspective part of the mathematics used, what's the point? It's never going to prove sphericity in the slightest. Quite the contrary. You can only aid our cause with your current line of investigation.
Yeah, I think I will aid the cause of the truth. I mean, you know, when I think you were a little bit talking about the Earth curve calculator, right? That ignores perspective, right? Or did you want to say something else?
The curve calculator has hijacked perspective and replaced it with curvature.
Yeah. So the thing is, I think the Earth curve calculator doesn't account for perspective because it only tells you when the things will disappear that are big enough to make them disappear behind the curve. In other words, it tells you when a mountain disappears that is gigantic. It doesn't tell you when a fly disappears after 1,000 meters or after, I don't know, after 20 miles.
That's correct, Zinder.
It does so.
Hold on 1 second. Sorry, Jason.
No, but it does so.
Sorry, Jason. Just 1 second. Hold on, Owen. Just 1 second. So that's correct, Zinder. So what they say is an object will disappear in the distance depending on how much curve has been applied by the model. Well, things disappear in the distance because of perspective. So, very well put. Yes, as I stated, they replace the fact that things get smaller into the distance and eventually disappear, and state that things in the distance disappear depending on how much Earth curve you apply.
Well, I think the Earth curve calculator tells you when something will disappear no matter how powerful your telescope is to look at it.
Yeah, I made that point too, Zinder. So, according to globe heads, things are always visible. There is no angular size reduction in globe mathematics. It's been replaced. So, the same effect. This boat being small on the horizon in the distance, that's because it's far away. That is an effect of perspective. Fact. Well, that's not accounted for when you compare photography to your maths, which is absolutely what you do. But you say, as you ably put moments earlier, that it disappears depending on how much curve there is. Well, no, Zinder, that's not the case. Things definitely disappear due to their distance and angular size, and that's completely ignored. But what you absolutely do declare is that that effect is Earth curve. No, it's perspective, Zinder. It's just been replaced in your mathematics. So you trying to figure out what happens with angular size, where are you going to apply it in a mathematical formula that replaces that very detail and calls it curve?
You know, Renty showed us beautiful pictures, right, of ships disappearing. And do you think that he used the P900, I think, or P1000? So, do you think that if you had a one of those observatories from ESA, from NASA, whatever, and you would, instead of looking in the sky, you would look at the ship from the same height as the as Renty stood with the P900. Do you think after the ship disappeared bottom first, do you think the observatory will be able to bring it back to view?
If it's of a higher elevation, i.e. you have a wider angle to the thing you're observing, is that what you're saying?
No, the elevation is the same, but those observatories, they have gigantic
Yeah, I think he's just talking about the power of the telescope.
Yeah, I understand.
They have gigantic apertures.
Sure, and I explained this yesterday to you, Zinder. So during your challenge, your $5,000 challenge, I said that the only objection I would have was where you said if you increase the aperture at the lowest possible angle, you'll bring the item back due to an increase in aperture size. And I said I don't think that's possible because it's two different things that are at play. One being the limitation of the angle due to your position in regards to the lower half of your field of view. So I'm going to pause this video because it doesn't matter what video, they all have the same exact rules applied, even this one. So where's my pause button? There we go. Oh, it's not the picture I wanted, but it doesn't matter. So whatever the height of this observer, so let's pretend for the sake of argument he's at the beach looking out at 6 foot, out at this horizon. The midpoint is your midpoint. That's the horizon that you can see. It's the midpoint of your field of view. Regardless of whether or not you point your camera above or below that point, the bottom half of your field of view is filled up in this picture with 6 foot's worth of elevation, whereas you've got an infinite angle to the sky. So that is what makes up your field of view. If you decrease your angle, you will see less across this distance. In the lower half of your field of view, you will have a more limited angle. And I showed you a video of exactly that, Zinder, with flat earth perth raising and lowering over a square of grass. And in the lower position, it's squashed into a tiny little sliver because he's got a very limited angle to the patch of grass. Whereas when he's up high looking down on it, he can see a nice open piece of grass, wide. But that's what happens when you limit your angle of view. It's not necessarily the case if you force the angle of your lower half of your field of view to be so limited that things disappear, then you're not going to bring them back with an aperture increase. It's a combination of more than one thing. So the angle of attack, as I've coined it, is a combination of all of these things. So in terms of how to induce this effect when raising and lowering, i.e. forcing the angle of the lower half of your field of view to become compressed, that can be exaggerated if you're trying to get something to disappear through its angular size limitation with a small camera phone. So somebody yesterday tried to debunk me, and they explained in their video that they'd used a 3-inch camera lens, a 3-centimetre camera lens, to try and make a magazine disappear at 50 metres. It's like, well, you've got a big enough aperture to probably retain the resolution of that magazine, even at the lowest angle, with your camera. But try doing the same thing with the camera phone, and you won't even see 50 metres away down that corridor, let alone resolve the actual magazine. You need to push it to the limits of its resolution to be able to lower and see it disappear through an angular limitation of the bottom half of your field of view. So there's a lot more to it than just saying, well, it's down to the aperture size. Or, as globers do, it's down to a mathematical construct called 7/6R that causes things to disappear at the bottom. Or, say it's down to Earth curve that's causing it. No, it's incredibly complicated. Yes, there's atmospheric conditions, the clarity of the day, how much the temperature differential between the two surfaces is at play, causing refraction, real refraction, not terrestrial 7/6R, but actual refraction effects, light changing its direction. That does happen. Also, the angle that you observe your target from, the angle of elevation, will affect how compressed the bottom half, the thing you're looking at, field of view is. Also, the resolution that you can resolve with your camera, the aperture size, the resolution limit of that camera. So all three things, when in combination, make it far more complicated than just saying it's Earth curve, excluding all aspects of perspective, and saying that those aspects, when carefully calculated with real refractive effects that do take place and can be averaged if you have enough data, and calling that 7/6R. To bring back things that shouldn't be there when they are. So, Earth curve, no. Yeah, refraction, yeah. Angle of attack, yeah. Angular resolution limit of a camera. All of these things play into what you can see in the distance. Just calling it Earth curve, it's an absolute nonsense.
Yeah, so the reason why I mentioned the observatory is because many of the evidence you guys presented were from like 100-meter distance with the smartphone camera, right? So I thought that there is a bigger correlation to the aperture size and height than I actually thought, because you know, an observatory that has like, I don't know, like 20 times the aperture size or more than a P900 should be able to bring the ship back, in my opinion, because a smartphone camera can already observe the effect after 100 meters, right? The P900 can observe the effect after 10, 20 miles, as Renty showed. And so I thought that there is a constant correlation to those three things. That's why I was kind of confused when you said that the observatory wouldn't bring back the ship if...
Oh, so do observatories ever point their telescopes like across? Aren't they always pointed up?
No, that's just theoretically.
Sorry, Jason. That's not the point he's making. I'm happy to entertain.
Unfalsifiable.
I know. We're just entertaining a thought. This is a thought experiment. I'm happy to entertain it because, as I say, you're fighting the wrong battle here, Jason. There's nothing that Zinder will achieve in his current line of inquiry that will ever, under any circumstances, support Earth's sphericity. So at the moment, he is an ally. There is no doubt about that, regardless of his motivations or feelings on the subject. So in this instance, when he's trying to describe how a bigger aperture could potentially... We had the same heated argument with Rumpus and get a quick concession about how the angular size limitation of the Hubble telescope, for example, when used in this circumstance. So it's a worthy discussion. I know he's adversarial because he is a globehead. And
mine was an honest question, though. Like literally, honestly, Nathan. Do they ever point them sideways, like across? Are they only built to point up? I'm just curious if they can point down.
That would be a question
sideways.
for Apollo. So if Apollo's around and he's in the chat, he probably might be on one of the re-ups or something along those lines. If you see Apollo, he would know the answer to that question. He has access to a sophisticated, albeit I think it's classed as amateur, but it doesn't look it, nice telescope. So you could just say to him, look, do you ever literally stick this at 90 degrees? But I don't think Zinder would know the answer to that, to be honest. It's just a thought. It's a thought exercise that is useful for me to explain to Zinder why a bigger aperture wouldn't bring back something that had disappeared from bottom up when lowering your camera at the maximum.
I hear you.
Do you see what I mean? So what you do?
Yeah, I hear you. It's just, it feels like art class 101. And if some of these guys would have just taken some simple perspective classes and less science classes, maybe they'd understand some of this. But I hear you. I know what you're saying.
No, but look, I've had simple perspective classes, and they don't really teach you about actual perspective. They just show you how perspective sort of works in how you draw the lines to the horizon thing.
Yeah, no, it's not taken into
actually
account.
Take into account diffraction in the.
I know.
None of that is taught in art school.
I know.
Right, Paul.
But when regards to perspective,
sorry,
we're
guys.
talking about perspective.
Just
go ahead.
Zinder's got a perfect example on screen, so you can see. Oh, Paul. Oh God, Paul. Thank you. So, can you see what's going on in these two instances? I know it's not the example I thought it was. He's comparing flat with curved. Oh, damn. No, don't worry. It's not relevant. Sorry, Paul. Premature. So, Zinder.
If you give me a few minutes.
The reason I brought that up is because somebody said earlier about proving whether the water's flat or not. And I thought that was a good illustration. Yeah. Just in the sunlight to show. Yeah. Because if it's over a curved surface, it'll be just a one little spot. And then over a flat surface, you can, see the distance. So anyway.
Exactly.
So why does this argument not hold up? Because I
just want to get to the end of the point, please. Someone just let me get to the end of this point.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So if you've got a massive aperture telescope, for the sake of argument, it doesn't matter of a given size, and you're trying to achieve this effect, Zinder, it would have to be an identical replication. And I can give you some examples of this being done, but over a much bigger distance. So in other words, raising and lowering a telescope so that the surface that you're looking over, in this case, back to the same example, the water, is going to be more compressed. You're going to be seeing a more limited amount of it because of a lower angle to it. So if you induce that effect with a telescope, you could potentially get whatever at 150 miles away to do the same thing as a book in an iPhone camera. But as for bringing the thing back by just increasing the aperture, no, I don't think that's possible. I think once you're at that limited angle, so much so that something in an iPhone with a couple of pixels has vanished, I doubt you could bring... You might potentially bring the very top of it if you had, let's say, something that was an inch high, like a book. You might be able to bring the very top of the book back. But as for bringing the entirety of it back when it's been forced into a limited angle at the bottom of your field of view, I don't think that's possible.
Interesting. All right.
Sorry, guys. I just wanted that to be rounded out, and Zinder had a very good point.
Yeah. going to rethink that a little bit in the challenge and how I should phrase it, because you know the aperture size still plays a role in terms of the angle of attack, but it doesn't play as such a big role as I originally thought. So
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I also found out subsequently to making bolder than necessary claims, it absolutely does factor in, but there's a lot of similarity to the actual apertures of these cameras, which I didn't know. I thought they would drastically increase. Well, that's not necessarily the case. But I've subsequently found out that the actual angle of your elevation and how that works. I've also had other illusions shattered. So where I've been saying the compression is because things that get further out into the distance have the same effect if you have a lower angle to them, i.e. the bottom of a boat gets compressed. That's wrong. So I'm incorrect in that assertion. And Ranty and I had a little side bet on it, and Ranty won, I lost. So when he was saying that the compression of his boats is due to refraction, and I said, no, it's the limited angle having the same effect as you pushing the bottom of the boat out further because of the more limited angle to the bottom of it, he was like, no, you're wrong, it's just refraction. He was right, I was wrong. There's more to it than just saying the same effect can be observed as if you push the bottom of the boat further because the angle's smaller. It's like, no, it doesn't quite work like that. It's a combination of both. And then when you factor in the refraction itself, it's a combination of all three things. The angle of view to the observed thing, the item that you're looking at, so how high or low you are will affect how much of the deck you can see, getting less and less as you go lower and lower, more and more as you go higher and higher. Also, the actual ability of the camera to resolve information that you see in that camera to the point where it disappears in whatever given camera at a certain distance or size, i.e. angular resolution. Number 2. So height, i.e. angle of attack, or elevation of your perspective view. Then aperture of the camera, angular resolution, and then the actual atmospheric conditions on the day, how far you can see. Most of the time, that third one is the most limiting factor. You go out, have a look, and it's crap day. You can't see anything. You can't see Isle of Man because it's not there. Not because it's dropped behind the curve of the Earth and isn't looming anymore. It's just a crap day and you can't see anything. So that's normally the most limiting factor, therefore gets used as the catch-all for globe heads when they're using their mathematical hijacking of 7/6R, labelling it refraction. It's like, no, air clarity and how good the day is will cause refractive effects. But it's not Earth curve, it's not 7/6R. In fact, the two are not even slightly linked.
All right. I'm going away for like 5 minutes. I'm preparing a little thing about the like 3D modeling stuff, and wanted to show you something later. Not in mud vision this time. This time in real perspective. So coming back soon.
Okay, it's probably a nice opportunity for me to actually bid farewell to the live audience. So I'll say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And of course a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you're watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley channel, then stay tuned as you'll be privy to the after show. If you're watching in the live show, once again, thank you. Check out nathanoakley.com, join the community forum. I've been Nathan Oakley and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Has there been anybody critique this meme? Really look at it. Anybody that's went after it?
I was gonna say earlier, like, do the ballers have some type of explanation for this? Because I've never heard anybody address the whole reflection coming right back to you if the water's flat. Like, I've never really heard a global argument for this. I mean, maybe because they might not have one. I don't know. Maybe I'm just. I want to know if I've heard every argument, and that one I can't really say that I've heard.
Well, the thing is, if you look at the image on the right, the reality, you can see both the flat surface and the curvature. The waves kind of are curved, obviously, so you can see the dark places where the where the waves are occurring. So you can see that it's almost like a double whammy. You get the actual flat surface and the curve in the same image right here. If you can see my cursor. I always thought this was a fascinating. I mean, right here of the flat surface, just the reflection of the water.
And this is something that, if I'm not mistaken, because it's a natural phenomenon, that you can turn into an actual hypothesis and do an actual experiment.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So technically, the guy did. If you look, he made the cardboard or whatever that is. That's the surface is in a sense the variable, I guess. If you want to give it that, he put a curved surface to it, and then he put a flat surface to it. I was able to replicate it. Sorry, I keep jumping back and forth. I can only mute what I'm using. I can only do it this way. So
I'm not complaining. Not at all. Grateful for it. Thank you very much, Paul. Yeah, the answer, Chocolate, is they don't have an answer to it. Basically, that you can't have that reflection if the surface is curved. And as Paul points out, if you've got the waves causing undulations, if there was a curve, it would be so exaggerated as you would never get any. You wouldn't get that line. You just can't have it if you're on a ball. It's not there because it's not. It's flat.
Would that be a good experiment to recreate somehow, like a?
Not an experiment, but yeah, a good observation of how flat it is. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Could you try and recreate it though in a model somehow, like on a water? How would you get the bending water? Maybe.
Why'd you need a model?
Pardon?
Why'd you need a model?
No, just to see if you could actually do it in reality. Could you actually bend light around the curved surface of water? Could you actually do it in
take that through its logical steps. So let's try modeling that. Let's just take that through its logical steps, Jason. So you've got first problem: how are you going to get water onto a curved surface sticking uniformly to
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it stationary with stationary water, but I could have like running curved water and see if a reflection could run off of that, maybe.
So you get
like just bending it using electrostatic.
So you have running water pouring over a curved surface. Okay, I could go with that.
I don't know.
That's the only way I can do. I can conceive.
You could have like a fountain, a ball fountain, maybe even near a ball, and just have water on the tops, getting out of it, going over the sphere, and then you could use that to test it.
Maybe, yeah. It'd have to be pretty big, though, right?
No, not necessarily. Like,
well, to test the
30 centimeters across ball would probably give you plenty of clues.
Actually, it's real simple. Just freeze a ball of water. Just freeze it. Then you got a round. Basically, you got water that's curved. Just freeze it.
But it wouldn't have the same reflective properties of liquid water, so might not be a relevant test.
What you do then, Jason, is you get the comparison to what the sun would do over a frosted lake, for example, or whatever. Okay. Something that's frozen, and then see if you get a similar effect. Obviously, without the ripples. In fact, that would probably be better. You'd get a perfectly straight line, would you not?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not. I would just like to see them try and demonstrate how light could possibly bend over a surface like that in a mod. Like, demonstrate it. I mean, we could easily demonstrate how, like, in your little meme, I guess it basically demonstrates it there, so it's not bad. But I'd like to see it done on a scientific model. You should be able to just quite simply bend some water with like electrostatic, a balloon, anything that's emitting electrostatic, bend the water around it
with electromagnetics.
Yeah, sure. And then reflect light off of it, and then look at it for certain angles. Try and see it bend around the waters. Like, I just don't see how that's going to be possible. Right? It's flat.
Well, I asked the question because these guys always want to say, "Oh, you guys learn everything from memes," and they're all debunked. And I'm just okay. So where's the debunk for this one? Because this is just one of many that I haven't seen.
What they do as well, though, Chocolate. They say the word debunk when they say the word debunk, what they actually mean is, well, we've explained it away with our model.
Yeah, I know.
Where's your model? Where's your model? We have a model. It doesn't work. Yeah, but we have a model. You don't.
That's not true.
Yeah,
Alan.
no, I'm not talking about that kind of model. I don't think we live on a model. I'm not talking about that kind of model.
But I'm hearing that back a lot, though.
Yeah, but when that happens next
sure.
time, Arwin, just say to them, "Can you show it me, please? I'd like to have a look at your model."
But then you're already giving them a win.
Really?
No,
Well,
then you just Humpty
hold on,
Dumpty,
hold on,
man. Then you just
hold on,
tear
hold
them
on.
apart.
The issue is, it's
Hold
like,
on.
look, you
So
have the
you've-
delusion
hold on.
that you need a model.
Oh, forget it. I obviously haven't got a point. Forget it.
Sorry, I understand what you mean, but my point is that they have this delusion that you need a model, and that's where they keep themselves stuck.
And my
They
point
have
is
model
they have a,
addiction.
The delusion
My
is
point-
they have a model.
my point is they have a delusion that they actually have a model.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
that
that's what I
works.
just said. Yeah.
They've
Just-
got,
just try it.
They got globe porn addiction.
Just try it. Next
They
time
watch
someone
too many
says,
models.
"My model does," say, "I'd
And
like
go
to
with that.
see it, please. Can you show it me?" Just see what happens.
I think San's right. This is one of those things that really, I think it even hits you. It first hits you when you really start to think things like the Polaris star, being where it is for all recorded history. As far as I'm concerned, it's never moved. These are the questions. I think the reflection off of water right to your feet. I think it really, these things are, obvious, observable things that break the globe model right in front of your face.
But that's my point. Yeah, Zinder's on the panel. Zinder, you there? He's on mute. He's obviously doing something.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, you
I
are?
was
Excellent.
Kind of busy.
You can make my example for me. So, you are familiar with the term globe model, are you not?
Yeah, the heliocentric model that we have right now.
It's like an all-encompassing model, right? Does everything, right? Explains
Well,
everything.
It explains the solar system in a certain way.
So
it tries to explain the solar system.
I gotcha. So it's like Earth and the solar system and what they do. Can you show it me, please?
Which part? I don't have.
Sorry. I'll just explain what part. Maybe I wasn't clear. I thought I clarified it with you at the start of my statement. The model, globe model. Can you show that me, please?
I don't have it. You mean the orbits? You mean I don't know, whatever.
Everything.
No, I don't.
Just
I don't have
whatever
everything.
you've got, Cinder.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see the globe model, please.
I don't have it ready.
Well,
I
there
can't
must be
show
one,
it to
right?
you.
Hold on. Surely it's just but a Google search away, Cinder. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Surely you can find the globe model, right?
It would take a lot of time to.
You're joking. Half the Western world believes they live on this model. We hear nothing but model. So let's have a look at it. Can't be that difficult. They go on and on about it.
I can show you a Wikipedia site, but it doesn't contain everything of the heliocentric model. It is really hard to.
Oh, no worries. Well,
put
just the
everything
bits
in
that you.
one model.
I don't want it to contain everything. That's why I stopped Chocolate from saying that. So just the bits you mentioned. The Earth is a sphere, and the stars around that sphere, Earth. Just that bit.
Oh, I could show you the geocentric model, which I don't know if that's true or if the heliocentric model is true. I can't tell, to be honest. I don't know if the heliocentric model is true.
No, I just want to see the model.
Right. I'm trying to find something.
Excellent. I'll give you a few minutes, Cinder. Let's see how you get on. Let's see what you can offer us.
It's really hard.
No, can't possibly be Cinder. We hear about it Hold on. We hear about it non-stop, Cinder. Non-stop. Even you yourself on this show that's just gone mentioned it.
I mentioned it, but I didn't say
Right,
it.
so you've mentioned it
reality.
even on this show. So now I'm just saying, we hear this model all the time, heliocentric model. So let's see it, please.
Alright. I can show you a picture of how the planets supposedly are aligned, but this
is it a model? That's a picture, just a model.
Yeah.
The model. Do you want me to define what a model is for you? Surely I shouldn't need to do this, considering how much you guys mentioned this model and how good it is and how wonderful it incorporates. Just let me get to the end, Zinder. We hear non-stop about how excellent this model is, right? Don't we? Everybody on the panel agreed that we hear non-stop about how fantastic this model is, and it explains everything, correct?
Many people say
not you,
good it
Zinder.
is, yes.
I'm asking everyone else. Everyone else familiar with people saying, we've got this wonderful model? Is there anybody out? Is it just me that hears this?
Every day. Numerous times.
Right, so we're all familiar with this model, the heliocentric model. So I'd just like to see it.
All right, I can show you timeanddate.com, and
sorry, timeanddate.com is definitely not the heliocentric model. That's timeanddate.com, isn't it?
From the heliocentric model, I think.
So we're going to see a sphere Earth with all the stars going around it. That's the minimum. That's what you mentioned. That will be in timeanddate.com, will it?
No, but because that's.
Oh well, then that's not what you. So even by your own standards, it doesn't meet what you described. So Earth is a sphere, stars, planets going around it in a model format. That minimum. Time and date doesn't give us that, does it? So that's fail number one for this model we hear so much about. Where's the actual model, Zinder? Not time and date.
Because what you mentioned before is the geocentric model.
Sorry, model. Just show me the model.
Well, there is the geocentric model, and there is the heliocentric model, right?
Which one's right, Zinder?
Sorry,
so there's two. So suddenly, this model is now being split into two. Well, I don't understand what you're talking about, but I'd just still like to see any model. Don't care what you describe it as or dissect up as it now having to be two models. Don't know why that's happened, but nonetheless, I'd just like to see it, whatever it is.
Let's see. I can show you the geocentric model, which isn't accepted by scientists at all.
What use is that then? What use is that? The model that people keep telling us about that's right, that's all-encompassing, that explains everything. Can I see that? The one that's right?
Because you said before you said you want to see the model where the planets and the stars go around Earth, didn't you?
That's what you said. No, that's what you said, Zinder, and that's why I use that as the standard. That's because you said it.
I don't know if the planets go around Earth or if the Earth goes around the
I don't care.
sun.
I just want to see the model.
I don't have a model. That's a problem.
Well, that is a problem, isn't it? Considering you think we live on that model. Wouldn't you want to see the model first before declaring that we live on a model like that?
Give me a second, sorry.
Wouldn't you want to see that model if you're going to declare that we live on it and reify it into existence? Wouldn't you want to see it first? Me, I'm asking to see it, but don't seem to be having much success with the only globe head on the panel. Got to be honest. We're not seeing a model.
He doesn't seem so sure.
At this stage, other panel members, have I admirably demonstrated what happens when you actually ask a globe head to show you this wonderful model?
I think we just found our new housekeeping question. Is there any sign of a globe model?
This is the jape that you keep in your back pocket. So when someone can't get out, they have reification diarrhea. Model. Okay, let's see it then. You just got to keep that one in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's even better. Good
Some won't fall into it. He's trying not to fall into that.
I'll shout out a couple of people. So John Quantum Eraser was the first to point this out to Cathexis. So Cathexis immediately utilised this to absolutely stunning effect on a live debate on, I can't remember which channel it was, but he just did it so, I don't know if you know Cathexis, the guys on the panel, but he's got a very nonchalant way of bringing things up. So it's like, oh, can I see your model then? Can I have a little look at it? Just said it really casually, and it went on obviously in the same way as it went with Zinder, but they never actually produced anything at the end of it. They think they're deluded that they've got a model. They haven't. They think they have. And they go on and on about how wonderful it is and how it does everything. And then it's like the Emperor's New Clothes. All right, well, where is it then? Let's have a look. I can't actually produce it.
I'm back,
Maybe
sorry.
I need to produce the geocentric model. What?
So,
what are you talking about?
Nathan, can I ask you something? So what if they were to produce in front of you the ridiculous animation where you've seen it where everything's spinning around through the vast cosmos. So they present that model to you, and what would your response be to that then?
To the corkscrewing thing where they show it going through space?
yeah, the ridiculous, yeah.
Well, that wouldn't incorporate how you can have gas pressure without a container. It doesn't incorporate the weather. It doesn't show any of the geography of the Earth. It doesn't show anything of the model. It doesn't show the stars. Where are the stars in that corkscrewing thing? Are they modelled?
Yeah, that's just a cartoon.
What I'm saying is that is the solar system.
Wondering, I was just curious what you'd say, because I'd imagine putting yourself in the mindset of a globe proponent, that's what you would bring up.
Possibly,
that would be the heliocentric model, wouldn't it?
By Zinder's own standards, that wouldn't meet his standard, because he said it incorporates the stars, right? Well, that's the solar system corkscrewing through the universe, but it only shows the solar system doing what it does. It doesn't show the frame of reference of the stars spinning around from your position on Earth. It doesn't show any of that.
And how Venus can be spotted at night. I've seen it myself a lot lately. Last year. So, broken. Can
you guys hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I lost my internet, but on my phone now, so I don't know how it's going to work. But the one thing I thought about with that, their model, is the angular size. Again, they don't take that into account. You think about Jupiter, which is 350 miles away at minimum, and yet we can still see that. Like, it's like 87,000 miles in circumference or something.
Isn't that because the light is coming to us?
Yeah, but we actually see the sphere, though, right? We don't just see not just light. Or not sphere, whatever it is. I mean, maybe I'm coming from a ignorance here, but
yeah, because the way that I think back on it is, it's not that we're seeing that far; it's that the image is coming to us. So,
I mean, it's an assumption in the first place, though, that it's that far away.
Oh no, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, but I think with any model, you can make it fit your assumptions. It's all about conversions. You know, if you assume that the sun is 93 million miles away, then it has to be this hot, and all this stuff has to happen. So if it's closer, then you just reduce how hot it is or whatever. You know.
Yeah, Jaron put it well in one of his videos I saw a while back. If you guys saw that, where he's, you could make the values anything you want. Really, you could flip and could be any distance and size you want, really, because nobody has the actual distance and size. So.
That's exactly what it is. They can interchange whatever numbers, mix and match however they want to make it work.
I've got another question that might be something good to ask, is how, if we've been talking about the law of thermodynamics, second law of thermodynamics, how do things cool off in space with the sun constantly reflecting on it? Because if it's a vacuum, there's no molecules to be able to pull the heat from the object. How does that occur?
Wouldn't they just heat up until they were in the shade of the sun and then freeze and then heat up and then freeze? And that's what I would assume.
Yeah, maybe they've got some type of magical metal that's okay with going, these extreme temperatures in the sun and then in the freezing vacuum and then right back. And it's cool for 20 years. And they're just floating around inside in their khakis. It's ridiculous.
You got these satellites, though, that are not being blocked by this, the shade of the Earth. They're just out there in this orbit that are constant.
Yeah, never spinning.
And apparently I've been led to believe that titanium is really one of the only metals that could sustain those kind of temperature variations. So they made all of titanium? I don't think so. Solar panels, all these different things. No, they're not made of titanium. So,
Well, even if you were, the electronic components have to have plastic, have to have gold. There's gold involved. There's solder involved. There's all kinds of things that are involved in the process. So even if it was made of titanium, that just creates an oven, and things start melting at certain temperatures.
Yeah, but Spaceman's still on his way to Jupiter, was it?
Didn't they lose track of that thing?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, probably. I'm sure.
Wasn't that the story? I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Hilarious.
Is this still the after show?
I think so, because I didn't hear Nathan do the intro again, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, he said there's not going to be another show.
Oh, did it start at 8 o'clock or what, or early?
A little bit early because a Globey in the chat, Jazzaconda, was supposed to jump on and debate, and Nathan was kind enough to set up a platform, start a show, and open up the thing, invite us both, and he wouldn't show up. He chickened out. Huh. So we've just been talking ever since.
So he never showed up at all.
No, he wouldn't. And we gave him every opportunity, bro, and he kept making up stupid excuses, giving us fake emails, fake emailing Nathan.
Fake email. Wow, that's sad.
I found a model, but I can't mute the stupid music that's placed there, and the planets are too big. So the proportions probably represent the heliocentric model, but the planets are just too huge. So it just does a visualization. That's a problem. Because if you want to put in the distances they tell us, you need, like, I don't know, you need a lot of space, right? A stupid screen isn't enough to represent it.
I didn't give any stipulations in terms of how you presented it, but so what you're saying is you don't have a model to show us.
Are we sniped, or did
I asked you to go away and find a model? Is the end result of that, I don't have a model to show you, Nathan? Is that what you're saying?
I just was wondering if we were getting sniped. I'm sorry. Four people at the same time left. But okay, no, nothing. Yeah, I don't have a model I can present to you. I don't have a heliocentric model I can present to you as a whole. So I can show you one, but that doesn't represent the heliocentric model 1-to-1, because the sizes aren't accurate enough.
So I'm not really interested in. So let me get this straight. I say, can you show me your model? Now you're making excuses for its inaccuracy. I thought this was the all-encompassing, wonderful model that explains everything and is the world we live in. And you're, before showing it me, telling me how wrong it is. No, I'm not interested in that model if it's wrong. No, thank you. I want the wonderful model, the right one that explains everything. And that's the one I want. Have you not got that?
All right, then I can keep searching. Maybe
Man, I thought it would be just a Google search away the amount we hear about this wonderful model. You'd think it would be at your fingertips, but clearly not. But yeah, you go ahead, Cinder. If you think you can find this amazing model that incorporates everything and explains the world, then great. I'd like to see it, the model.
Yeah, I'm going to search an interactive model, because otherwise I can't I can't just show you a picture. I just can't just show you an equation or whatever.
I'm not asking for anything specific. We hear I'll say it again. We hear all the time about, quote, the model, when referring to heliocentric belief. So I'd like to see whatever model is being referred to by globe-head idiots that think they live on a sphere when they say, we've got a model. I'd like to see that model, whatever it may be.
I can search. Can keep searching.
Okay, so
Zinder, searching.
Just for honesty, right, Zinder? You think it's a slight problem that we were asked 24 hours a day, where's our model, where's our model, where's our model? And then the first time we asked you guys, where's your model? And nowhere to be found? That, I
Yeah.
mean, you would think like you would be able to pull something up like in 2 seconds, right? If, I mean,
Well,
I'd be pissed off if I was
yeah,
a
obviously,
Goldberg.
but you are talking to the wrong person here because
No, I get you, but I'm just trying to get you to say it out loud because this is a problem.
I mean, maybe the people who accuse you that the Earth isn't flat because you have no model. Maybe they have the model on their fingertips. Maybe they have it ready to show it to you. But I'm not the
I
the wrong
understand.
person
Just
for it.
so we're clear, Zinder, this is in absolutely no way directed at you as an individual. It was useful that you were here to make the example, but I'm not expecting you to go away and do this. You won't, because there isn't. There is no model. It's just bollocks. That's the point. But you were useful to make that example with you actually doing it, trying to find one, and it illustrated that you don't have one at your fingertips. Neither will the person demanding that we produce a model.
I'm kind of interested in the model right now, so I think I will still keep searching.
I'm good with things like that, eh, Zinder? Worth tuning in and subscribing today. Check out my Patreon if you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980 or 1980, or Nathan Oakley.
Perfect. Here. It's I drew a little a little platform, right? So I get your point about the limited angle. I can show you what I mean. Here I can even screen share. Let's see.
Yeah, ready when you are.
Yeah, like I get your point with the limited angle, right? Because now I'm kind of high up, right? I can see the plate here, and if I zoom in, I change my angle towards like that one, right? The more and more of the things start to disappear, right? It gets smaller, and at some point, I can't see the things that are like behind this line, right?
I think you might win $5 grand, Zinder.
So no, but that's not the model. That's the problem. That's not an equation, and that's not what I was talking about when I was talking about building disappearing button first, right? Because when I look at the building, they aren't at the ground. The building, let's say I have a 100-meter building. Maybe I can even draw one here. Let's see. Damn it! I just discovered this program after I made the challenge, so I'm kind of new to it. Let's see. It's kind of here. It's blue line. I have to put it on the blue line. Yeah, and then I'm going to like, let's say it's base. Oh, God damn it. Let's go on, keep talking while I show you my
Yeah, it's cool. Once you've done it, all I'll do is say, right, push that to the horizon and see what happens when you lower and raise your elevation.
All right.
If you're going to draw like a meter box, yeah.
I'm trying to like.
I've not done this either, so I don't know what your modelling program will do, but I've seen plenty of real-world examples of exactly this.
Yeah, let's see what happens. It's kind of a stupid box. It's a retarded building, because, but it's all right, right? It's a building with a diagonal roof, let's say. So maybe the building is too big, but I can show you something else later when maybe it's too near, right? It's too close to me, but when I go down, right, the only thing I'm interested is the wall, right? The top part of the building is invisible to my eyesight, no matter no matter where I stand. As long as I'm not higher than the building, the roof of the building will be invisible to me. Can we agree?
Sure, but like I just said, now we're currently a city block away from a skyscraper, right?
Yeah.
Now put it at 30 miles away on the horizon.
Yeah, I'm going to put it like on another surface, right? Because that surface I can't I can't make it big enough without
Okay, no
the
worries.
whole program to crash. So let's see, maybe I can maybe I can draw it like here. Maybe
Why
it's
don't you
far
go
enough.
take a picture?
Again?
I said, why don't you just go out and take a picture?
Just to illustrate a point I wanted to make later.
Yeah, but you could make the same point with a picture.
Well, I'm living in Zurich. It's not that good of a place to take picture to make those points. But I can, there are a lot of hills and so on. You will almost never get a direct line of sight to anything.
This is the one thing that I think keeps coming up in my understanding of this, is that when we talk about what we're talking about, it's like Nathan, when you say show it me, show me where you see that. Well, here, I can draw it here, and let me draw it for you. Like, no, show it to me in real life. They can't.
What I wanted to illustrate is about the angle, right? About the angles. So, if I'm looking from a box to another box, let's see, I don't know, like here, right? And I take I look at, I'm standing on top of the box. Wait a moment, damn it. So, and then I can take the angles to, like, from here to the building, right? And then I can see what the angles are from here to here. But it's kind of strange right now. Anyway, that's the highest point. That's the lowest point.
Hold on.
So the angles is
Hold on.
like,
Cinder, you're in a 3D modelling program, and now you're drawing an orthographic representation. What gives, man? Just stick your box on the horizon, get 30 miles away from it, and raise and lower the camera. See what happens. Get really fast so it's nearly disappeared, very small in the distance on the horizon, like we do in the angle of attack videos. Then just raise and lower when it's really small and in the distance, almost at the limit that you can see it on the screen.
So, let me move a little bit away from here.
It would be nice if the program can also factor in atmospheric conditions.
Yeah, that's a problem. You can't take into account the atmospheric condition here.
That's no big deal. No.
Yeah, but it's just about perspective itself, right? Right now, I don't know what my height is, so I'm going to. I think I can put myself on the surface. Well, it's kind of strange right now, but anyway, that's a box, right?
The hell's going on?
Yeah, that's what the program says when I'm putting myself on the surface. The surface just to make it easier to still draw things, it kind of erases a part of the surface. So I'm going to put it like that. I think it's a kind of when I'm standing on the surface. So now I can see the box, right? I can only see one part of the box. The face of the box.
I don't even think you can say you can see one part of it. You just see a little dot.
Yeah, that's a box here.
Yeah, I know that that's the box, but you can't say you're seeing one part of it. What part are you seeing?
To the front.
Sorry, Cinder, just keep going back until you can't see the box.
Alright. I don't know if it's possible in this program.
So in this program you can always see it. Well, that's pretty shit.
Well,
so things don't disappear in this program, so that's very useful. Things never get too small. Surely they must eventually disappear.
At some point, I think they will. So I'm trying to go further and further back. Let me just let's see if I can move faster like that.
You now, yeah, cool.
Yeah. So I think if I'm here, the other direction.
Get back on the ground.
Yeah. The problem is, oh, here's. I think I can see the box.
That's not really the.
So
yeah.
if you lower.
Wait a moment. Let me go a little bit to the left.
I can't see anything.
Yeah, it's difficult to see, I think. But yeah, it's kind of invisible, I think. I think there is the box, like here. Oh, that one here is the box. Here.
And are we high or low?
We are kind of low right now. Let me.
Okay,
let me put
so we can
myself on
kind
the
of
ground
see
here.
it. So now go higher. See, all it's doing is it's not giving you.
Okay. Now go higher.
And look down on it. See if you can spot it from up high.
Yeah, it's too small. It's like here. So I'm going to prepare it another thing that is a little bit better, I think.
Fair enough. No, it's difficult to obviously replicate reality in a software program you're not that familiar with, but I'm sure you'll have a fiddle with it.
You know what would be helpful, I think, Zinder, is if you could have some marker that's up above it. Because, you know, like it'll keep it where your eye should go, even though you can't really see it. Like it'll show you where it's supposed to be. And you know what I mean? Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yes. I'm going to experiment a little bit more with the program, so I can show you better results at the end.
Yeah, like no matter where you're moving, like if you were moving this all around and you lost sight of the object, but the computer program has an arrow marker that always follows it where it should be, so that you can locate it again. Otherwise, you're like, I don't know where it is. Where is it? Is it over here? But anyway, whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to prepare it a little bit. It was kind of spontaneously what I wanted to show, so maybe next show.
No, it's fair. You did it on the fly, and I'm very grateful. Thank you for presenting that.
And I agree, we don't live on a model, so whatever the model shows, maybe it represents reality if we would live in a vacuum or whatever, right? Where there is no atmosphere, where there is no refraction, and etc., then maybe the model would represent reality kind of accurate. But as someone already pointed out, there is atmosphere. So light doesn't behave. Light behaves differently when it has to pass through air molecules than when it doesn't.
We will wait with bated breath for that model from Zinder or any other globehead who feels he can present this all-encompassing model. They go on and on about us, but in the meantime I will say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley and Nathan Oakley 1980 audiences for tuning in and hopefully sharing the show. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and join the forum there to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate community. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!